Hey guys, welcome back. It's Frank here with Makeshift Frank. Today we're going to be doing a tool review and an unboxing. We're going to be going over the Chicago Electric 4 by 36 inch / 6 inch belt disc sander combo. This is available at Harbor Freight. We're going to open it up. I'm going to get my first impressions of it. I want to tell you what I think about it. People talk a lot of trash on Harbor Freight, but you know, I like Harbor Freight. There's a lot of tools that they have that I wouldn't be able to afford elsewhere. I'm not saying that everything they have is top tier, best quality, but I don't have a lot of money. And if you're like me, you don't either. I don't just have the money to go blow on every tool I want. Heck, I don't even have the money to go blow on every tool I want at Harbor Freight. But that's okay, because if you're like me, you don't need the best tool there is. You just need something reasonably priced that works reasonably well, good enough for you to get the job done. At the time of this video, I paid right at $70. This is a vertical or horizontal belt sander. All right guys, so let's talk about the specs. Now, I will link it up here so you can read along with me. Now, this came right off the website or out of the manual. Now, of course, the belt is 4 inches by 36 inches, and it has speeds of up to 1,185 feet per second.
Hey guys, I apologize. I said feet per second. That would be incredibly fast. What I meant to say was feet per minute. It has 1,185 feet per minute.
The 6-inch disc sander has speeds up to 1,819 RPMs. Now, this does come with sandpaper. It comes with one disc and one belt. This is 80 grit. It's pressed metal frame. It's not nothing too rugged or heavy duty. And it also comes with a cast aluminum table. Now, that's your table you use for your disc sander and your belt sander. The table tilts 60 degrees so you can sand angles. And it also comes with a miter gauge. All right, so now let's talk about power. Okay, so now on the website, it claims that this is a 3.5 amp motor. It claims that it's a 3/4 horsepower motor. Now, something isn't adding up with this. At 120 volt, 3.5 amps is not 3/4 horsepower. Now, if you look at this little chart I have, it will show you 3.5 amps times 120 volts is 420 watts. Okay, now if you look at this chart, it will show you that 1 horsepower is equal to 745.7 watts.
Guys, I know this sounds a little complicated, but all it means is that 3.5 amps is just over half a horsepower.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the discrepancy is there, but it's not right. In my opinion, it could be anywhere from half a horsepower to 3/4 horsepower. So this is it. This is the box it came in. I haven't even opened it yet. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. Okay, so the first thing you see, opening it up right off the bat, is I see a miter gauge, sandpaper, and an instruction manual. Okay, underneath that is the aluminum plate for the disc sander. Take the styrofoam out, and there's the machine itself. Got the guard for the disc sander. Got the table for the disc sander. Got some parts. And that's it, just some more styrofoam. All right, let's get all this plastic off here. All right, got 2 tools. Got an Allen key and a wrench. In this baggie, we have rubber feet. We have the guard. We have the dust port and the other guard for this end. Got the guard. All right, let me just start out by saying it's covered in oil. I can't really feel it, but I can smell the machine oil on it. It seems sturdy enough. This definitely seems like it might be good enough for me. A lot of pressed metal. The tray is aluminum. This plate is aluminum, and this obviously is plastic. Hey, first thing we're gonna do, right off the bat, we're gonna plug it in and see what happens. That way, if the motor don't work, I know I can take it back. Or if something just catastrophically fails, we'll know about it right now before we go through the trouble of putting it together. Okay, so it works, and you've seen that I had to kind of kickstart it to get it started. That's no big deal. The most common complaint that I have seen with this is that the belt is automatically tightened too tight. There's so much tension in it, right off the bat, it gets stuck trying to start. You have to kind of kickstart it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the tensions on the belt, and then it should run better. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put our rubber feet on. These are just rubber, they just have a slot cut in them, and they slide over this frame. Okay, so we got our rubber feet on there. Let's check the tension. This guard on here is held on with these screws. So let's get our screwdriver and take that off. There's two more underneath. After you get the screws out, this belt guard just slides right off. Okay, so to adjust the tension of the belt, the motor right here has these 4 nuts and bolts. What you do is you unloosen them, and the mounting plate has slots in it. So when you have them loose, you can move the motor this way, and that adjusts the tension on this belt. After you get it to where you want it, you have to tighten it back down. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unloosen these nuts so we can adjust the tension in this belt. This is a 9/16 socket. Okay, so this thing is kind of a pain in the butt. There's nut heads underneath that you also have to hold down and tighten, just like a regular nut and bolt. You can't just turn one in. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to get to. So let's hang one edge off the edge, tighten it up. Before I tighten all 4 of them up, we're going to try it again. There, that's much better. What you want to do is just have enough flex in it to where you can do this. All right, now let's tighten them other bolts up. All right, so now we've got all 4 bolts tightened up. The only thing that I think bad about it so far is that it's kind of inconvenient and kind of hard to get to both sides of them nuts and them bolts. Let's try it now. Starts right up. Okay, so now that we have the belt tensioned properly, let's go ahead and put our belt guard back on. Okay, we've got our belt guard back on. Let's go ahead and attach our plate for a disc sander. Our guard just attaches with 3 screws. Now there's a little rubber piece on here on this motor shaft. You need to take that off. There's a set screw in there, and what you do is you slide this plate onto the shaft, and there's a little notch right here in the top of this plate. It tells you where the set screw's at. All right, now there's also a hole in this guard. You line this notch up with this hole, and you can easily put your Allen wrench in there and tighten it up. All right, got that on there. This is our dust port collection. This is a very small hole. But anyway, it just mounts onto these screws here. We'll leave that for later because you need to clean this up or your adhesive backing may not stick to it. So this is the guard that goes in the back right here. I want to turn it around so I can show you a better view of it. Okay, there's 2 screws in it. These screws just screw into this plastic here. And there's a slot. This slot goes on this bolt right here. Okay, can you see this? It goes under it, not over it. There. Now that's on. Let's turn it back around. Okay, so this nut here, this is where it tightens your table up. It has this little slide here. You loosen this up. See? And it slides like this. When you have it where you want it, you tighten it back up, and it can't move anymore. Now, we'll slide this in here. And we'll tighten that down. That wrench is incredibly hard to use. I'll just use my socket ratchet. Okay, now that our table is anchored on there, see, we're able to put this where we want it. There's a little miter gauge. All right, let's take this back off. It looks like I'm going to have to go ahead and clean this and put some sandpaper on it. So I've got some acetone here. I'm going to try to use this to clean the grease up. right, this is pressure sensitive adhesive. The harder you push on this, the more it'll stick. So don't worry about getting it all pressed on there nice and hard right now. Just get it on there, and as you push your workpiece into it, it will stick better. All right, so now let's put our dust collection on. This is just held on with 4 screws right here. Now this is all plastic, so you don't want to tighten it much, it'll strip it out. And honestly, this is kind of flimsy. And the guard on the disc is connected to your belt guard. So to align your disc guard, you have to adjust the belt guard. Now that we have that on there, we can put our table on there. You want it to be as close to your sandpaper as possible without touching. Okay, so now you are going to want to check your table for square. All right, that's it. All right, guys, so let's try it out. Let's see how it works. Let's see if it bogs the engine down. I got a piece of 3/4 inch red oak here. We're going to try it on the belt, and then we're going to try it on the disc. We're going to see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to be honest, that worked great. Now let's try the disc. That worked pretty good. Okay, I can see that this dust port collection would be very beneficial. This has made an incredible amount of dust in just the small time that I've worked with it. There's a dust port right here, and there is a dust port right under here. All right, now that we have this together, let's talk about the vertical and horizontal positioning. Right now, it's in the horizontal position. Now this thing easily sets up to the vertical position. Right here behind this disc, there's 2 nuts. There's a nut here and a nut here. If you loosen these nuts, this will pivot up and down. And then when you get it up, you want to lock your nuts back down so it doesn't fall down. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so now we have the nuts loose. That's in the vertical position. And to lock this in place, you just tighten these nuts back. And it's locked vertically. Now your table here for sanding on your disc can also be detached from that and be connected over here. All right, so let's try that. It just goes in this hole right here and locks in with this nut. It is important to know if you want this to get all the way up close to your belt, you do have to take this guard off because it won't get any closer. See, can you see that? Did a pretty good job. This works pretty good. Okay, so now let's change the belt on this thing. So to change the belt, what you need to do is you need to take this bolt for the guard out, and you need to take these 2 screws out that holds this guard to this guard. Okay, and you need to take these 2 screws out, and there's 2 on the other side you need to take out. So there's a total of 7 screws or bolts you need to take out. Let's go ahead and do that. So now we've removed our guard. Now we need to take these 2 screws out here, holding this bottom plate in. And then your 2 screws here you need to take out as well. Now if we just set it back up, this bottom plate is loose. We don't have to completely remove it, and it's still connected to this plastic guard by these 2 screws, but we do want it loose. Then we take our belt lever tension, we loosen the tension. Okay, now with that loose, you can slide it over these wheels and under this here and around this. Okay, and once you get it started, you can just work it back and forth until it comes loose. Now to put the new belt on, you want to be mindful of which arrow the directions are on the underside of the sandpaper. You want it to spin in that direction. So to put it back, stick this on your top wheel and you start feeding it through again. All right, so we've got our belt back on. Now all we need to do is put our screws back. We'll start with this panel here. Now it's important you don't tighten your screws too tight. This is pressed metal. It's cheap. You don't want to strip your screws out. But now all we need to do is attach our guard back here and then connect it to this plastic guard here. So now that we have the belt changed, there's one more thing we need to do. Anytime you change the belt, it won't track the same as the belt you've taken off. So this little adjustment knob here is for belt tracking. After you get it put on, you want to roll it and get it as close to center as possible. You want to turn it on and adjust this knob until it tracks perfectly. Let's go ahead and do that. Now I'll show you so you can see it's perfectly tracking. Okay, so that's it for as far as the features of this goes and assembling it and how it works. Let me talk about the pros and cons. I think it's tedious changing this belt. I think it's kind of a pain to remove 7 screws. Is it a deal breaker? No, it's not, because I'm not going to change belts every day. For some people, it may be a big deal. Also, I think it's slightly tedious just to set it up in the vertical or horizontal position. But again, is that a deal breaker for me? No, I'm probably never going to use it vertically. I think that just may be something you need to consider. Let's talk about the pros. For me, a pro is the cost. Like I said, I only paid $70 for this. For that price, this works great. I didn't have any problem with power. I don't know if it's a 1/2 horsepower or 3/4 of a horsepower. I like that it has an adjustable table with a miter gauge that attaches to the disc sander or to the belt sander. I don't really have much to complain about. And for me and my uses, I think this is going to work great. Okay guys, so here's the deal. I think it's a great little tool. Do I think it's top of the line or top tier? No, I don't. Is it cheaply built? Yes, it is, but that's okay because it makes it affordable. Now, if you need this for like an industrial application, this may not work for you. Or if you're professional and you have to use these all day, every day, maybe this isn't the best for you. But for someone like me who's on a budget, who just needs a tool that works good, this tool is more than exceptional. You just have to be aware of the limitations of your machine. This is all pressed sheet metal or some kind of thin metal. If you tighten your screws into it, it'll strip. This hasn't got a big 2 horsepower motor. If you put too much pressure on it, it may stall out. Now, I pushed on it a little bit with that block of wood, and I had no problems with it. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can take a 50-pound piece of wood and push on it, with all your weight, and it'll work, because it just won't. This is a low-end machine, but for me, this is more than reasonable. All right, guys, so that about wraps it up. I hope I've helped you. Hey, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss any of the videos I post. If you're interested in seeing more tool review videos, click right here. Till next time, see ya.